Hello, welcome to Spotlight, a laser of aesthetic luminescence.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
This evening, we hear more about Joanne Clague's latest novel, The House of Hope, the first in her new series, and become smitten with Smitten, the exhibition currently showing at the Loom Gallery in Laxey. And after hearing from current Manx Wildlife Trust Biosphere Artist-in-Resident Ali Hodgson last week, as she nears the end of her tenure, we hear how you could apply to be her successor. Remember, do get in touch with any creative artistic endeavours you might be involved in, planning, hoping to create, or would really like to put in the spotlight. Theatrical, musical, poetic, literary, ceramic, sculpture, drag, film, mime, social media, yes, all the others. Email spotlight@maxradio.com, Howard Kane with an E at maxradio.com. It'd be great to hear from you, because if I don't hear from you, we can't feature you on the show. Simple as that. So, local author Joanne Clague, well known as an author now, in fact possibly better known than she was as a journalist in her time, who knows, having already had 3 successful novels published. Later this month, her 4th book, The House of Hope, will be published by Canello, her publishers of course, for the first 3, the first in a new saga of her historical fiction. She popped in for a chat a few days ago, and as I looked at a splendid copy of the new book, it struck me it appeared that more books in the series are on the way. If you look at the front of the book, there is a space. It references your previous 3, as you said, under the title of your first series, which I'll try and find now as I flip open the book. Yes, so the Sheffield Sagas with the Ragged Valley, the Girl That Changed Alley, the Watchman's Widow, and then the House of Help for Friendless Girls, the House of Hope. It's sort of, you look at it and you think there could be another 2 names going underneath there. Is that the case, or another 2 in this series?
There are another 2 in this series, yes. And I've just handed the second book in, actually, so I'm waiting for edits back on that. And right now I'm researching book 3, and I said earlier, didn't I, this is the best part for me, actually, is I've got an idea of how I'm going to start. I'm really kind of into the research right now, so at the moment this book is perfect. You know, the book that I haven't written is perfect because I haven't written it yet. So hopefully it will live up to my grand ideas.
And then, obviously, With a Fair Wind, I know they've been doing very well indeed, and they look splendid on the bookshelves, all beautifully presented by Canello. But if you finished, or like I said, by the sound of it, it won't be very long before you will have finished the second series of 3. Where would you, or have you not really crossed this bridge yet, where would you see yourself going out after that? We're in the Victorian era with this. Could you see yourself going to, I don't know, the sort of another 20 years forward to around the period of the First War or the Second War, or would you feel that you would go in a totally different direction? Or maybe none of the above?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I'm really enjoying what I do. I really enjoy the period. And I think there's more in there. I won't know actually until the end of this year. Yeah, the end of this year, and then I'll have to start to think about it. Do I want to develop a new series, or write a standalone historical fiction that's more pure historical fiction rather than saga, or will I keep writing saga, which I do love, and it's getting a good reception, which is lovely. You know, there are people out there who really enjoy it. So, yeah, I don't know is the answer.
And do you get a good reception? Because again, it's a curious job, isn't it, being an author in many ways, and that you know it's going to be consumed by hundreds, thousands, maybe more people from all around the world. It could be anywhere at all, and yet the chances are, apart from events and writers' events and festivals and such like, you might never get to see them. But do you get much in the way of contact, or people coming up and saying, "Oh, what happened to such and such? Or are you going to go down and do this? Or can you bring this character back?" Do you ever have any of these sort of conversations online or elsewhere?
I do actually, yeah, which is really interesting. Some people who say that a particular character is their favourite. I always remember the Ragged Valley book 1, and people were saying to me, please say the dog survives. The dog must survive. And terrible things happen in book 1. 250 people die, including children. But it was the dog that people were interested in. So that was quite amusing. And I get, which is so lovely. I do get I've had the occasional letter through the post or email or message, just from readers saying they're really enjoying the stories. And actually they always start by saying, please forgive the intrusion and I'm so sorry to bother you. And I always think, no, it's not a bother at all. It's fantastic. It's what every author wants.
Well, listen, very best of luck with this next one. I'm sure it'll go down well. All three of the previous ones in the first saga have done. I'm sure this will be the first of another great successful saga. The book is out looking here 15th of August, is that right?
It is. Can I plug my signings?
You are just about to actually ask exactly that question. Are you doing any events to promote it coming up?
I'm in Waterstones in Douglas on publication day, so that's Thursday the 15th. So I'm there at lunchtime, 12 until 2. And then I'm up at the Bridge Bookshop in Ramsey on the 17th, Saturday morning, signing books with the lovely people up there.
Wonderful. And just as a matter of interest, I know a lot of people, obviously, I still prefer a real proper book in my hand. Is it available as an ebook, or do you have to actually get the real thing in your hand?
It's I prefer the real thing in my hand. I'm a reader of paperbacks.
Yeah.
I struggle with a Kindle, but it is available in ebook. It's also available. They're all available on audiobook as well. So I know a lot of people like to listen to novels now. So yeah, and in large print in libraries.
Oh, splendid. And just as a matter of interest, do you get a choice on who gets to read your books for you? Because you probably have an idea of the sort of, when you're writing, I assume you probably have a voice in your head of some of your characters' voices. Do you have a say in that, or is that beyond your control?
Oh, like everything, it's I just write the books. But no, I am given a few different examples of voice artists. I think I was given 3 or 4 for the new series, and I selected my favourite and the publisher agreed with me, but if they hadn't, then tough.
I think it's a real achievement for people to publish one book, so to be on your 4th with 2 more hot on its heels, a great achievement in my book, if you excuse the pun, particularly when they're clearly very popular. Why not pick up a signed copy of one of the book signings Joanne's doing and have a chat? I'm sure she'll be very pleased. We look forward to interest to whatever comes next in her literary career.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
Joanne is a resident of Laxey, of course, and hopefully you're aware that the village is also home to a wonderful art gallery, which is where I headed the other day. Here we are. You can probably tell from the background sound drifting up into the gallery. We're at the wonderful Loom Gallery down at Laxey and Woolen Mills. The loom stopped just as I'm talking. You must have heard me speaking. It'll start again in a moment. Anyway, we have come down to see the latest exhibition showing here in wonderful sunshine today, late summer, the Smitten exhibition by Ella Magee. And Julia is here as well. Good afternoon to you. We haven't been down for a while.
Hello, Howard. How are you?
Oh, we're very well, thank you. Lovely to be here in the sunshine. I normally seem to be here in the autumn for some reason, so it's nice to be here in the summer. Tell us a little bit about the current exhibition.
The exhibition, as you said, is called Smitten, and the Smitten is derived from the word from the smits, which are the marks and labelling and categorising on sheep, and so it's very much centred around Cregnish. And it gives you a real sense of place and history. It's lots of ink drawings from handmade tools by the beautifully, wonderfully talented Ella. And very much, there's a real sense of from the lines and the marks and the energies, the fact that the pictures have been done, a lot of them have been done outside. It really evokes an atmosphere of space, history, the sheep, and takes you to almost a different place and a different atmosphere and a different world. I am transported even by the fact that when you come here, you've got Nancy Corkish and David Burns' cottage. It gives you that immediate sense of space of coming to Cregnish. It's a vibrant inks and wild colours and just the intricacy of the work and the thoughts behind it. That's really important. It's far more than you see. There's so many deeper elements to it, but I will let Ella talk about that because she knows all about it.
Absolutely, and she is here. Ella, the artist, is with us in the gallery to have a little walk around and tell us a bit more about the paintings. Very good afternoon to you.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you indeed. So, a wonderful exhibition. You must be very proud. Tell us, as Julia hinted at there, I mean, there's some gorgeous pen and ink drawings, etchings as well, black and white with these colourful Smith marks on. Tell us a little bit about the philosophy of the thought behind this collection.
Well, actually, it started in Singapore, really. So I have done a lot of training in diversity, equity and inclusion. And a lot of that work is about neurodiversity, so thinking about different protective characteristics and really sort of the philosophy behind what makes a great society, a community. In Singapore, you have people from all over the world living together harmoniously. You might have a church and a mosque and a temple all on the same street, and there's never been any problems. And so, I think that that's really quite a beautiful place to be. So when I was there, I did lots of research in rituals, and I had a specific sort of methodology whilst I was doing my master's there, and thinking about, how do we understand more about a culture. So when I moved to the Isle of Man, a year ago, 2 years ago, I sort of applied the same methodology to understanding the land, to why we do the things that we do on the Isle of Man. I have spent half my life on the Isle of Man, but the other half of it was in Asia. So, I'm re-exploring the culture that is my own culture, but I don't know much about it really. Even though I'm like 400 years ancient Manx, and my family were mostly in Creagnish. So when I go to Creagnish, I have this real sense of place. I have a real sense of my ancestors being there. It feels really old. It feels, and rightly so, it's been kept so beautifully by the Manx National Heritage in that way. And so it means that I can draw it, but I'm drawing it with my ancestors around me, like Coolbane was where my great-grandfather lived. We used to go to the cafe, on a Sunday to go and get an ice cream with some wafer. We'd go up to the chasms as kids. We really enjoyed Creagnish. So I'm revisiting Creagnish in a way that is exploring my own culture.
And I was thinking that because clearly, again, that Creagnish, as Julia was saying, features strongly. People will instantly recognise some of the buildings. And, of course, some of the most famous animals you see. I just stood in front of 4 lovely pictures of the classic Lockton sheep with the Smith marks as well. So it is this, as you say, sort of returning to your sort of ancestral heritage in many ways.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when, my 2 uncles are farmers, and actually 3 of my uncles are farmers, but I've been sort of rediscovering the land with them, and asking lots of questions about why have you put the Smith marks on? What does that colour mean? What does it all mean? But then obviously I interpret that with my own meaning, my own level of understanding of diversity, equity, inclusion, and thinking about sort of this idea of labelling and categorising and who has the power over each other in that way, to be able to label. I've been thinking about that in terms of neurodiversity. How helpful is the label, and for who? Who is this label for? Like to have a label of autism, ADHD, dyslexia, how important is that for the individual and for a society? I'm a teacher as well, so I'm very aware of the difference in my classroom, and want to support everybody. So I've been sort of thinking about all of those things in terms of society. So I've been looking at the dry stone walls. You might laugh, but in a way that of the if each stone was a person, each stone is so incredibly different shapes, different colours, different sizes. If a dry stone wall works so well, in its inclusion of all of these different stones, how do we do that as a society to ensure that everybody's included in that way? So I've been thinking about that, thinking about Mother Earth. So that the natural elements as well. And what I love about Creagnish is that everything that has been preserved at Creagnish is because it was made so well, or it was made with materials that are true to the land that it was found on. And so I love that aspect of it as well. Sort of the sods in the like stones in the land would have been put in to create different walls, but environmentally, I really love the idea of using stuff that's in the land to build our homes and without it being plastic. Or so actually some of the work is a question about how we are using the land environmentally. So like, for example, sheep have markings on they have tags in their ears. These tags are actually made of plastic and they don't always stay in. So these bits of plastic, if you like, are sort of being left amongst the landscape, which, is actually going to have a longer lifespan than the sheep itself, So mm-hmm. I'm sort of putting some of those things into my work. So you might see there's often a lot of little symbols and little questions in my work. So if we look at this one here, for example.
Mm-hmm. Just come down a little bit.
So this one is called Caracan at Bala Woods, and actually it's a landscape drawing at Bala Woods, so you can see South Barrule there in the background. Very much a textured drawing, but across the plane, a horizontal line of the barbed wire, and on top of the barbed wire is lots of sheep's wool that's been captured there. When I sat there and drew this, I was just thinking, gosh, this is just so beautiful. The Isle of Man is so stunning. How do we, as a society, preserve this for generations to come? And I was thinking about that, it's such a strategic move that we make now that will have the impact for our future generations. So I don't know if you can see any sort of hidden strategic shapes and patterns in there, which is discussing this Caracan, which is a very important opening move in chess.
Okay, yes.
So it might seem like they're completely separated, but actually, like, that is often a move that people do win in chess, if they have that opening move. So I'm putting these subtle elements into my work that are, discussing many things.
Yeah. It's a lovely exhibition. Do try and check it out. Ella was keen, by the way, quite rightly, to thank the gallery curator and force of nature, who is Julia Ashby-Smythe, a wonderful artist herself, of course. Do you drink Fenodry gin? Just pondering. Who we heard there at the beginning of the piece, for all her help and advice and encouragement ahead of setting up the exhibition. We'll enjoy a bit more of the exhibition and chatting to Ella next week. Now, we were hearing last week about the Manx Wildlife Trust Isle of Man Biosphere Artist in Residence position, brilliantly filled by Ali Hodgson for the last year. But now Ali's coming towards the end of her one-year term. The search is on for her replacement. Could it be you? Well, I put the all-important question to Head of Engagement at Manx Wildlife Trust, Graham Makepeace-Warren. So, Graham, we're looking for the next one. So who and how are we going about this process? Because it's, I was going to say it's a bit of a blank canvas, but it's a very big canvas. Who are we looking for and how can people actually apply?
I think that's a really good way to put it. It really is genuinely a blank canvas. So essentially, if people go to mwt.im/jobs, there's a job listing there for our Artist in Residence programme. Applications are due in before midnight on Sunday, the 25th of August. We'll be doing interviews the following week. And essentially, we want people to provide up to 3 sides of A4 and a link to their portfolio about how they would answer the brief. Or they can supply up to a 3-minute audio recording or an audio-visual video, for example, and that can be supported with a 1 side of A4. What does the Artist in Residence get out of this? Well, they get a 6K stipend, so that's to help cover living costs, but there's also 4K budget for materials and also training. We're really keen that the Artist in Residence gets to develop as part of this programme as well and improve their own skills and abilities. But they also get to work with MWT, which is fantastic, of course. We're a great bunch to work with. But within that, there's lots of great access to themes and subject matters and ways of working, but also engaging with a wider audience. You know, we have something like 13,000 followers on Facebook now. You know, similar numbers on Twitter and a growing army of followers on Instagram. So you can engage a really wide audience, but also potentially be part of creating a really good legacy. But also, you know, as Ali's mentioned, the Biosphere game that she's worked on, that clearly has legs to go a long, long way in terms of engaging the public around what our biosphere is, how we all fit into that, and how we can all make a difference. So it is genuinely a really good opportunity for an up-and-coming artist in the island. And going back to what you're saying about it being a blank canvas, you know, we've had 2 really good 2D artists now. And, you know, maybe there could be a sculptor out there. There could be someone who works in video or audio. Or...
I was thinking that. So any medium, really. It doesn't have to be, as you say, a 2D sort of traditional, in inverted commas, artist.
Yeah, no holds barred, absolutely anything. Interpretive dance, we will look at anything. You know, this is about how people interpret and communicate the world around them. And, you know, whatever media they use to do that is absolutely fine. We'll consider anything.
And does it have to be an individual, or could a sort of a movement or a collective apply?
Absolutely. You know, it's open to individuals and collectives, various different ways of working. I think in this day and age, we have to be open to new ways of working. One of the things I've absolutely loved about this project is I'm getting my eyes open to new ways of doing things. You know, Ali's particularly good at this, and the Biosphere game is a good example of that. Just new ways of engaging people, listening to people, communicating with people, and you know, getting their views, but also turning that into action, which ultimately is what MWT is all about. You know, trying to get people to act for nature.
And Graham was mentioning the biosphere there, Ali. Was that something which has inspired you throughout the year, the idea of our unique biosphere nation on the island?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we have some very unique challenges living on an island, and one of my kind of attempts to kind of bring all that together was through this game. You know, I think it's so easy to almost get overwhelmed by the complexity of some of our issues with, you know, the human systems and the ecological systems. So for me, playing games is a really fantastic way to kind of help break that barrier. You know, I think through opening up creativity and problem solving, then we're able to face some of these challenges in a very different way. So I hope that the game has definitely contributed towards doing that, and will continue to as well.
And any words of advice as you come towards the end of your tenure as artist in residence? I'm sure, as Graham says, you'll continue working with the... I'm saying that. I'm assuming you will be continuing to work with the Manx Wildlife Trust. Yeah, lots of nods all around. That's good. Any words of advice for your successor?
Absolutely. I think just go for it. You know, I've spoken to a few people that are kind of humming and hawing and, you know, not quite sure. It can feel like quite a big commitment and a little bit scary, but honestly, it's been one of the best things I've done in a long time. It's just been so supportive, so enriching. I can't honestly, you know,
put it into words.
Put it into words, yeah.
And as you approach the end of your year in residence, have you got any specific events lined up to sort of celebrate the completion of your year?
I do. So I'm hoping to go out with a bang, hopefully not literally, but I've got quite a few events. So I have from the 16th to the 20th of September, I'm going to do a pop-up exhibition at the Santander Work Cafe in Douglas. So that's going to be sharing some of the work that I've done, some of the things that have inspired me, some of the things that I want to see in the future as well. But it's also going to be about this Biosphere game that we were talking about. So if anyone is interested in that, on the 18th of September, also in Santander Work Cafe, I'm going to do a public game drop-in session. So if anyone wants to come and chat to me about that, or about the residency, or about any of the work that I've been doing, it'd be wonderful to see people. So that'll be on the afternoon. On the 19th of September, I'm doing an invite-only game session. So the game is a fantastic kind of light touch public engagement tool, but it's also has a much deeper potential as a facilitation tool for policymakers and businesses to kind of really understand the complexity of some of their issues. So if there are any businesses or organisations out there that are interested in experiencing a bit of a taster of that, then I'd love to hear from them as well. And then finally, the final exciting event that we'll be doing is on the Saturday, the 21st of September, an event called Building Biospheres, and that's going to be held at the Carew Brewing Company in Port Erin. And that's going to be a big collaborative event with the Cured Collective, Manx Wildlife Trust and myself. And I'm bringing together all these 500 responses that I've had from the game. And we're going to create an amazing kind of live experience from that together. So it's going to be a collaborative, creative event open to anyone over 18. We're going to have DJs, craft beers. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to be putting all these events up soon on social media. So hopefully we'll see some of you there.
Give us those dates one more time, Gray, and then anyone listening, as Ali says, basically go for it. If you're thinking about it, you'll never know unless you try, is the bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to our website, mwt.im/jobs. Have a look at the full role descriptor there. Deadline for applications is midnight Sunday, 25th of August. And I should just add, it's not a full-time role. The stipend covers 25 days throughout the whole year, so they can fit it around other things, which obviously Ali has done admirably. But we want to make it a comfortable environment in which people can logistically make it work for them in their own lives.
There's still plenty of time to apply, as you've just heard, so what have you got to lose? Sounds like a great opportunity for any budding artist. You'll be working with a splendid team at MWT, helping to sustain the Isle of Man's biosphere status and the island's unique environmental heritage. Give it a go. That's about it for this week. Don't forget, if you want to hear anything again, go to manxradio.com, download the Spotlight podcast, listen where and when you want. Why not try it whilst converting your barbecue into a small garden pond on legs, on the basis it's going to be more practical for the remainder of the summer, if we ever see one. See you next week. Until then, look after yourselves, and whatever you're doing, be creative about it. Cheerio.